So, I don't know why I thought that everything was just going to stay all hunky-dory, considering it's Promised Neverland, and this show thrives on its suspense and drama. But I was legitimately like, everything's like sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows in this week's episode. No, it's not. No, it's not. Everything's dramatic. And I have a feeling like it's about to get suspenseful all over again, probably for the rest of the season. But with that said, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly Promised Neverland discussion videos. Today we're talking all about episode 3, but before we get into the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, and let all of AnyTube know that you're here. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this week's episode. So, first thing I want to talk about this week is the bunker. I think I'm going to start there before we get into all the dramatic thriller stuff, although the bunker is definitely part of it. I have to say, funny enough, it reminded me a lot of the bunker from Supernatural, where we spent like the latter half of the show. It does have that same sort of vibe where it's almost self-sufficient, you know? And I think the bunker in particular represents a sort of like false sense of security that I think this show thrives on. A lot of this whole series really is all about like being like sort of like lulled into this false sense of security. Like whenever you think that you're safe at the orphanage, but really it's not an orphanage, it's a farm. You think that your main players are safe and then they're not, and Norman gets wiped off the board. Although admittedly, they mention Norman a lot. And again, people have been pointing out like, that empty space in the OP seems like it could be filled in at some point, and we see him in the ED, I'm just saying. And again, as an anime only, even I'm like, yeah, I think Norman's gonna be okay. But like, I think we're gonna see Norman. It's very heavy-handed. But even still, you thought Norman was safe, and he still gets removed in season 1. And even if he is alive, we don't know where he is or what he's doing, and I don't know if he'll ever be reunited with the gang. Like, maybe he'll serve as sort of like a behind-the-scenes figure, who the hell knows. What I do know is this, that every time you think you're safe, right, even with Sonju and Mujika, right, even when you think you're safe, you're really not. And the bunker is just yet another great example of that, right? Like, everything about the bunker seems perfect. Everything on the surface, right? Like, everything about it, from the fact that, like, you have to open it a very specific way, you have to have the pen, you have to input the right thing into the pen, you have to type out history, which is from the books at the farm, you have to type that in, it opens up the thing, and then you can go down into the bunker. And even when you get inside the bunker, it has like hot water. It uses energy from what did they say, like geosignaling as well, or something like that, as well as you know, Dawn points out so poetically that you can make energy from poop. So it runs off a lot of stuff like that, and again, it's very self-sustaining, right? Like, you have the garden. You have the hot water, everything's sort of recycled, you have canned food, you're still nearby other creatures outside, so you could theoretically hunt for food if need be. The gang already has non-perishables, you know, like they already have like a lot of food on hand that they can use. So on the surface, it all seems calm and ready to drop bombs. But we keep on pretending like it's all gonna be okay. We keep thinking that everything's gonna be alright for our cast, and we know that that's not true. But I will say, I like it. I hope that we stay here for a bit. I like this new setting. I do feel like we probably will be here for a while, just based off the way that they sort of like... This is a lot to put into a setting and not use it. You know, like, everything about this, like, they set up, like, little hints, you know, like, oh, look at all these different rooms. This room has a secret compartment. Oh, and it leads to, like, a cave. That's weird, right? Like, just all this stuff, like, the mystery still going on with William and Nerva, and the fact that there's, like, a radio that they can use and listen to the farms and all that stuff. Like, it's too convenient and too cool, you know? It's too cool of a setting to not continue to use it. So I do pretty much anticipate that we will be seeing the bunker, as I'm going to be calling it until somebody tells me it has an official name, in which case I'll probably still call it the bunker. But I have a feeling we'll be here at the bunker for quite a while yet to come, and I'm excited for that. And I love I love that we're getting more time with these characters, right? Like, I remembered one of their names. Like, when I saw, like, the girl with, like, the sort of messy black hair, like looking at something scary, which admittedly, it kind of did creep me out, so I can't imagine being one of the kids, you know, like, that would have been really terrifying. And we'll get to what she sees in a second, but I remembered her name. I was like, it's Yvette. And they were like, Yvette, what's going on? I was like, aha! And then there's the other kids who I am actually getting kind of attached to, even though I don't remember all their names, right? There's the blonde kid, there's the kid with, like, the hair that's sort of, like, it has, like, two little, like, curls one way and then two curls the other way, like, at the top and bottom of his hair. There's the two Normans, who I, like, in my head, I'm like, what am I gonna call them? So, like, the one dude just looks like Norman, but his eyes are a bit bigger. And then the other guy looks like Norman, but he has light blue hair instead of just, like, all silver. And he has smaller eyes. He's the kid who's crying in the bathtub later. But yeah, like, those two, I'm just like, okay, so little Norman and light blue Norman. That's how I'm gonna refer to them. And then there's the brunette kid and the blonde kid, and then there's Yvette, and then the slightly, like, somewhere in between, like, Dawn, Gilda, and all them, and the younger kids, right? There's that blonde girl who's sort of, like, in between the ages of everybody else. And yeah, there's a few others that I'm starting to kind of get familiar with, but the one kid who really shone this week, and I feel like I feel bad because I don't remember this character at all in season 1. And in season 2, I see them all the time, and it's the red-haired kid, the piano man, as I'm gonna call him. Not piano man, piano boy. But piano boy, I've been seeing this kid everywhere this season, and I'll admit that when he jumped on the piano, I'm like, all right, my boy, I see you. And the instant, now I fear for his mortality, because the instant a character becomes, like, somebody I like, they don't last long. Doesn't matter the show. So I worry for Piano Boy, and I was half expecting him to play Binks's Brew. I can't help it. Like, the instant I heard the, like, I was just like, gather up all of the crew, it's time to ship out Binks's Brew. Like I couldn't help myself. That's just the first thing I thought of. But we should probably talk about the other part of this episode, and that is, like, again, the false sense of security. While yes, the bunker is secure, there's another big thing that we got to talk about, and that's the fact that it's very much not secure. And I was going to talk about Sonju here, but I think I'll save Sonju for the end, because I have some really interesting, I think interesting thoughts on Sonju. But I want to talk, because I have less things to say in regards to this, as much as just like, ooh, spooky. And that's the end of the episode, where stuff kind of gets real, right? There's two rooms that we haven't seen yet. And one of them is sort of, like, actually both of them are, like, in red, ominous lighting, which, again, color symbolism time. What does red lighting mean? Just guess. Just guess. Do I even have to tell you? You know what it is. So, like, red, ominous lighting. I'm like, okay, big danger. What's going on? And, yeah. Like, again, Yvette and the sort of in-between girl and then the blonde kid and the brunette, they see this, like, scribbling on the wall, and it just says, help. And the episode even, like, it shows you it, and then it, like, boom, and, like, zooms in. It does, like, the Lost thing. I was like, ugh, stop it. Like, it's just creepy. Ugh. Actually creeped me out. And then we cut back to what the other kids are doing. Because Dawn's like, hey, can I talk to you guys for a sec? Right? And you're like, oh, that's weird. And they use the pen to open this door. And this door leads down into even more ominous red lighting. And then down the stairs is another room. And there's a phone in there. Like a pay phone, which is weird. But there's like a phone. And it rings, and I'm like, don't pick it up. Like, I would have missed this man's call, because I would not have picked that up. I'd have been like, hell no. But, you know, Emma's braver than I, so she picks it up, and it's William Minerva. And I'm like, okay, why is he calling? Like, so he must know that they're there. right? Like, he must have, like, cameras there, and he must know that, like, okay, they made it. Give them a call now. Like, he's been waiting to see if they're clever enough to open the door, maybe. But William Minerva's real. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I kind of thought he was gonna be dead. If I'm super honest, I thought it was gonna be this sort of like that, like it was gonna be this soul-crushing moment where they find out that even the people who escaped didn't make it. But he's alive and he's real and he called them, and I'm kind of shocked. And I don't really know what to make of it outside of the fact that there's stuff about the bunker that worries me. Right? And I don't mean in terms of, like, narrative. I just mean... Well, yes, I mean in terms of narrative. But I don't mean in terms of, like, the writing. It's I don't think that the writing's poor. I think the writing for the setup for the bunker is friggin' brilliant. Everything about this arc so far has been brilliant. But I'm concerned for the kids. Because I'm like, okay, there's help written all over the wall. William Minerva called them, so he's clearly spying on them. Or at least has some inkling that they're there. And the tunnel really worries me. Like, really, really, really worries me. I know that Gildan knows about it, which is good. So that means that Dawn and them, and Emma and Ray clearly know about this escape tunnel, right? I'm very concerned about that tunnel because I don't think that they're going to be using it to escape. I'm really concerned that something could find them through the tunnel. You know what I mean? The bunker has a lot of suspense to it. I'm very, like, sort of, like, nervous about it. And speaking of suspense, and speaking of just being concerned, we need to talk about Sonju.
Hey! As you can see, we are in the Wastelands, which, judging by Dragon Ball Z, can only mean one thing. We are about to scrap. Unless you hit that subscribe button. Thank you.
I didn't expect this. I don't know what I expected. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I saw it almost as a negative at first, Sonju's sort of, like, heel turn. And before anybody says, like, he's not evil, he was literally gloating about eating the kids, like, he's evil. But he doesn't necessarily, like, his allegiances are, like, his motivations are bad. I'll say that. But he's clearly, like, bad. The friggin' evil smirk, bro. Like, he's evil. At least he has malicious intent. I don't think he's planning to eat our kids. I just think that he's waiting for them to sort of, like, become wild. Or not wild, but sort of become, like, to grow and, like, their numbers sort of, like, bloom. So then he can hunt them. And that way he's still following his creed, and he can eat all the humans he wants. Right? So it's like, oh, that super changes things. Because, again, at first I was like, I don't know if I like that. Right? And again, stick with me. Because you guys know that, especially by now, if you've been with the channel for a while, that if I have anything negative to say, I don't like negativity, I don't like being mean, I don't like getting angry, it's not fun, I don't like harping on things I don't like, you know, but if I do have something about an episode of a show, or just in general, like anything in general, that I feel needs to be addressed, or I feel is worth noting, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm always gonna be super honest with you, but I'm gonna be nice about it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna be super mean. I'm gonna always try to make it fun for you guys to listen to. This isn't that kind of situation. I thought it was gonna be, but the more the episode went on, the more I really, really like this turn for Sonju. Like, really, really like this. Because initially I wanted Sonju to be sort of like the Piccolo figure, you know? But even Piccolo started off with malicious intention. Like, let's not forget, he didn't pick up Gohan and train him because, you know, he wanted to be a nice guy. Like, no, he wanted to use Gohan to fight the Saiyans and then maybe turn him against his dad. People forget that part, you know? Like, people forget, like, oh yeah, like, because we all joke that Piccolo's Gohan's real dad, right? But we forget that it started bad. Like, they didn't start, like, it didn't start with altruistic intentions, you know? So I still think Sonju is going to be the Piccolo figure to some extent, but I didn't think that we would be getting this sort of like interlude where he does sort of have bad intentions. And I like that because, again, another reason why we like Promised Neverland, at least why I like it, is the fact that Isabella is one of the most compelling antagonists I have ever seen in an anime full stop. And I put anime ahead of a lot of other genres. So you can go ahead and put Isabella in front of a lot of other, like, antagonists from even other mediums. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything. I think Isabella's friggin' incredibly fascinating, right? And Sonju just continues that trend, you know? Because, like, to me, I was like, I want him to be this, like, nice, like, gentle giant type character, which is fun. But we've seen that 1,000 times. Why don't we do something interesting? He still is, you know. He's still like he's still gonna protect the kids. He still cares. You know, he even admits like, yeah, I care about them. I do. Right? Like when Muchika's like, you seem to care about them too. He's like, I do. I don't want anything to happen to them. Right? Like he's like, I do. And she feels the same way where she's like, I care about them too. And Muchika as well. I was just like, is she gonna break bad? I don't think so. I think that everything that she said and did was genuine, whereas I think Sonju also did and said everything genuinely, but like had ulterior motives. I don't necessarily know if Muchika had ulterior motives, but her sort of like attitude and even her tone shifted when the kids were gone. So I'm like, interesting, okay. But Sonju going from like Sonju's point of view of like, I'm going to protect the kids, not because I necessarily want them to succeed in leaving, but because I want them to live out here and propagate and then grow in numbers and then eventually maybe just like have a human colony out here, and then I can hunt them and then I can eat as much humans as I want. And as a zombie, I understand. As a zombie boy, I get it. But it's still messed up, right? Because it's still dark. And we see that, like, don't forget, he took Rey and ran last time we saw him. And I assume that's because that he knew that he couldn't take all of those, like, pursuers on his own. But he can. Like, we see him tank these dudes. I was like, Sonju, where the high hell did that come from? Like, everything with Sonju this week was... Like, again, at first I was like, no, I don't want that. I want him to be, like, a nice guy. But no, I kind of do want that because now he's way more interesting. And I do kind of want to see him, like, still turn good, right? Because you guys know, I like the story of, like, the antagonist who turns into a protagonist as the show goes on, right? Like, a baddie who joins up with the good guys. And we see him with the good guys in the OP, right? Him and Muchika. So I'm like, I wonder if that's going to happen. Or if he's still gonna stay this sort of like morally gray character. Either way, I want that. I want either one. So the show just pretty much succeeded in making Sonju one of the most interesting characters this season. And totally relieved one of my concerns was that, like, without Isabella, I'm a little concerned, like, who's gonna be the next sort of antagonist figure, because Isabella was so interesting. So I was like, okay, who are we getting in return? So even if I don't think Sonju's necessarily going to be antagonistic, his presence still is like sort of filling the void that Isabella left behind. This sort of like really interesting, morally complex character. I feel like Muchika is probably going to be the same way, just not as much as I think Sonju will be. But yeah, Sonju just skyrocketed up to like one of my favorite characters in this season. So good for him. But with that said, everybody, that's going to wrap up my thoughts on this week's episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up, snooch, share. If you care, leave a comment down below, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, all that good stuff. And let me know if next week I should react to this over on the second channel. I finally linked the second channel on the channels page, so you should be able to just go to the second channel now. But yeah, like it's always in the description of every video. It's now linked on the main channel page. Let me know if I should react to next week's episode. I think people have been telling me to react to pretty much everything ReZero related, so I'm going to be doing that. Let me know if next week is worth reacting. When I say worth reacting to, I don't just mean like, ooh, interesting. I mean like, is there anything that's going to have like a big reaction from me? That's what I mean when I say like, is it reaction worthy? I don't mean, is the episode good? I mean, is it like going to require like a big reaction from me? You know what I mean? Let me know in the comments. But before we go, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all of these beautiful names. And hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button to get a badge next to your name, some emotes to spam in the comments, and of course your name scrolling past the screen here. Or you can hit that Patreon link in the description. Either way, It is super, super appreciated. So once again, a big thank you to the good folks in the T-Squadron, and that is it for me. So, until next time, you stay classy in YouTube, wash your dang hands, and if you're gonna live in a bunker, try to make it so that you can turn your poop into energy. I don't know why I said that. Goodbye.